What's up, y'all? Welcome back to another episode of In the Wild. For today's episode, and I know I always say that I'm extremely excited. I'm super excited. This is going to be a great episode. But this really one is going to be a really great episode, y'all, because we get to talk to an alum, and we get to talk to her for the entire episode. Her name is Cindy Noir. She is an AU alum. She graduated with her degree in psychology and her minor in sociology. And for today's topic, I thought it would be very interesting to talk about social media and the ever-evolving world that is the digital space that we live in. And not only just that, but zooming in a little bit on, I guess, just stan culture and what is it like to be a fan of someone, whether they are a celebrity, a content creator, somewhere in between, and how we treat these people, because it's very interesting to see people love celebrities as much as they do and how they will ride for their favorite celeb, but also how some people on the other end of the spectrum will want to troll and just hate and be not so nice to other people that they haven't even met before in real life. So we're going to talk to her a little bit about that, because she, in my mind, is a really big celebrity. She has gone viral so many times and has done a lot of cool things in the content space. So I'm excited to talk to her a little bit. And like I said, we get to talk to her for the whole episode. So I hope you're ready, because here we go. All right. Welcome, Cindy, to In the Wild. I've been telling you this all the time, and I'm going to reiterate it again for our listeners. Like, I'm super excited to talk to you because I feel like you are our biggest one of our biggest celebrities that we've had on the show so far. So thank you so much for being here with us today.
Thank you so much for having me. It means a lot to be able to come back home. So I appreciate the offer. Thank you again.
Yeah. So today's topic is just very interesting because the digital world is ever changing, ever evolving, but some things remain the same, unfortunately, which are trolls, the fandoms, stan culture. And so I thought, just with your experience with content creation, like, you probably one of the best experts that we have to talk a little bit about it. So I guess before we get into that, do you mind talking just a little bit about your AU experience and how that kind of led to you going into content creation?
Absolutely. So my tenure at Augusta University, I think, was a pretty well-lived one. My freshman and sophomore year, I was pretty low-key. I didn't live on campus, so I was one of those students who went to school, went to class, and came right on home. It wasn't until I became an RA at OCAL, I was one of the first RAs of that team when OCAL first opened, that I became a lot more involved on campus. I became an RA, I became a Lumen ambassador, I then became the BSU president for a little while. In my senior graduating semester, I joined the illustrious Dumpster Day Sorority Incorporated. So my life definitely picked up once I became an RA on campus, but AU was definitely a fun experience. I had the college life, I had the fun, and I also had the study aspect of it as well. Would I say that I was an excelling student? No. But I got my degree, and that's what matters. That's what's most important. As far as how I was a psychology major and sociology minor, and I've always been really intrigued by human behavior in general. So having a sociology minor and psychology major gave me a front row seat to understanding and having the words to even describe what I was noticing and observing about human behavior in general. And so I actually began content creating in college, but on Twitter, not visually. I began going viral when I was in college and on Twitter. I ended up on the Shade Room. I was on BuzzFeed, all those things back then through my tweets. And I would just talk about human behavior. I would talk about, self-evolution and things about self-growth, things that I was learning about myself as I got older and my college experience in general. And people resonated with it. And so I began to go viral a lot in college. A lot of my college classmates at the time knew me as the girl who goes viral on Twitter. So that started back then. And it just snowballed. I kept tweeting, and then that grew into TikTok, which then grew into YouTube and a podcast and so much more. But I learned in college that when I speak, people tend to listen. And I leaned into it, and so here we are today.
And what is that like, knowing or seeing your content go viral? Because even on, like, I remember on TikTok, just from my personal experience, like, I wasn't even following you yet on TikTok, and I would see, or I would hear your voice, and I was like, I know that's not what I think it is. It is what I think it is. So, I guess, what is that like for you to just not only have it happen once, but many times of you going viral? What is that like?
Well, I'll say it this way. The first time I went viral, it was 2017. And it was a tweet that I made that was a clapback to somebody. And when I say it went viral, it went super viral. The back of my phone was hot from all the notifications I was getting. And I mean, Snoop Dogg even saw the tweet, and he posted the tweet and tagged Kevin Hart in his tweet. So it was viral, and it was overwhelming. I was terrified. It was scary. I made the tweet in between classes at school, came out between one class, saw someone talking crazy to somebody, responded to that person, closed my phone, went back to my next class, came back out of that second class, and my phone was on fire. All notifications, text messages, oh my God, you made the shade room, oh my God, this person resaw, this person retweeted, oh my goodness. It was a lot. It was very overwhelming, and I thought that as it would happen more often, it would become less overwhelming, and it has, but only by a little bit. And I say that because the larger your platform grows, virality becomes a way more vulnerable and scary experience. At this point, any post I make on any social media platform could ruin me. And so with virality, what I learned over time is, while we're all striving for going viral, we don't realize how vulnerable of a position you put yourself in being viral. Because at any point, your content could hit a certain audience that you don't want it to hit, or someone can hear your message and interpret it differently, and now all of a sudden, you are the worst person on the internet for the day. And so right. I've gotten used to the overwhelm of it because I do it every single day. But when I sit back and think about it, every post that I post is Russian roulette. It is a game of how much can I share my personal opinions without upsetting the masses. And it's a fun game to play, but it is very risky. So I would say that going viral at this point for me, while I am used to it, I still recognize the overwhelm. And there are times where I go really viral and it is very overwhelming. For instance, recently I did a TikTok video about a Cybertruck. How much I hate Cybertrucks. I hate them so much. And so I had just seen the Cybertruck and made this rant about it in my car after seeing it and pressed it, and it got 4 million views. Didn't think it would do that at all. And when I tell you I made that post, I want to say like August of last year, to this day, every single day, I receive at least one video of someone using that TikTok sound for their video. Still, to this day, every day. That to me is, people all over the country are using that sound. And that is overwhelming because it's like I'll be scrolling on my FYP and then I'll hear my voice and it's not me. It's weird. So I guess I would just say, going viral, you never fully get used to it because each viral moment brings its own unique experiences, and it keeps you on your toes. So while people would think it's an overall exciting and joyous experience, there is another side to being viral that can be really scary at times. So I make a note to show both sides and not just talk about the positives only.
And so I guess talking about the more complicated or negative side of that is kind of the topic for today, because to me, I've always found it very interesting how some people can, hate watch and hate consume people's content when it's like, hey, the block button is right there. If someone that you don't, care to see, you can easily remove them from your feed, but people decide like, oh no, I'm going to engage and I'm going to hit her with hatred and troll her versus let me just remove her from my feed. So
right.
So what has that experience been like, where people just try to tear you down, or in their eyes try to quote unquote humble you and things like that?
My answer might shock you. Well, first of all, I find it funny, but I have a lot of empathy for online trolls. And the reason why is because Trolling to me is such a silly concept. This person that you're watching a video of is saying things you don't like. And instead of you protecting your peace and blocking that person, you're going to press comments and try to conjure up the worst things you can think of. And you're 36. You know, it doesn't, to me, it comes across as a very silly behavior to engage in. And the reason why I end up having empathy is because when I think about our current state of the world and how much is going on that is stressful, hate comments make sense. If you can't cuss out your boss, if you can't leave your kids somewhere that you don't, and just leave them and walk away, if you can't do the things you want to express frustrations in your life, in your everyday life on other aspects, it's a lot easier to hop on your phone and leave a hate comment under someone's post. You have no idea who they are. They're a complete stranger. Never see them again. I see these acts as small acts of trying to express anger and frustration. And I think as our country and the world continues to kind of spin the toilet bowl, we will continue to see trolls and hateful comments because it is a free way to get your aggression out that's not illegal and won't land you in jail. You know, so I do get the hateful comments, I get the hateful DMs, and aside from laughing and blocking them, there are some times where I think, wow, how bad must you feel about yourself if you're trying to make me feel bad? You can't like yourself. You can't be in a healthy or happy place with yourself if you are. I mean, I've been called some of everything. I've been called Fat Albert. I've been called Jada Kiss, which that was a pretty good one in my opinion. But like I can laugh at it because I don't know you, you don't know me, and you trying to pull out all the stops to hurt my feelings, I see the flattery because for 5-10 minutes of your day, I was on your mind to that extent. So you have to, if you're going to be a content creator, you have to learn how to not take negative opinions personally. Billions of people on earth, millions of those are on social media apps, which means it is impossible for you to be posting your personal opinions and everyone agree with them. It's not possible. So you're going to have haters and hateful comments, and it's all about how you deal with them. If you care about being liked by everyone, you're going to have a really tough time being a content creator. It's not going to be fun for you. So you have to get to a point where the things people say don't bother you and don't hurt you. And so when I first was a content creator, yes, the hateful comments would hurt. It's like, oh my goodness, you don't even know me. Why would you say that about me? But then it took time for me to realize, yeah, you don't know me, and I don't know you, and you're over there somewhere in Nebraska in a basement somewhere trying to pull any and everything you can to be offensive and rude for someone you don't know. For me, between empathy and realizing that the behavior is silly, it doesn't bother me much at all. There are a couple of times that I do mean like once or twice that a comment is like, okay, who are you? You know, and now I'm triggered, but for the most part, it doesn't bother me at all.
So I guess how do you decide when it's time to clap back with someone and maybe stand on whatever you were saying versus sometimes just straight up blocking and not engaging with that person?
I would argue that clapping back should be something you seldomly do. It really shouldn't be a common practice because most people's comments shouldn't even get that kind of rise out of you. What I would say though, what causes me to clap back, I don't really have a strict scale for it.
Okay.
Some people's comments be a little too smart. The tone, sometimes it's the tone where it's like, oh, wait a minute, I need to set that straight because you're speaking a little bit too out of turn, a little bit too confidently. I don't like those kind of comments. Those are the main ones I tend to clap back with, though, are the ones that's like, are you trying to, if I feel like, how can I put this? Good question. I don't mind my thoughts and opinions being challenged. I encourage that, actually. But when my thoughts and opinions are being challenged disrespectfully, or you are insinuating that my opinion is stupid or dumb, that's when I'm like, oh, it's time to respond to you, because you disagreeing with my opinion or my viewpoint, that's fine. but insulting my intelligence in the process as if my opinion is just a thoughtless basis of opinion. I don't like that. So everyone has their own different, reasons for clapping back. But for me, I refuse to clap back at every single negative response. It's just that's too many responses. But the ones who insult my intelligence, those are the ones, and they do it in a way of trying to. It's not as simple as just saying you're stupid or you're dumb. That doesn't bother me. It really.
Oh, I think she froze up. Taylor, I think you froze up on us.
Yeah, for the most part, most hate comments don't get a rise out of me. It's the ones that the tone is a little questionable.
I think you froze up on us. Do you mind repeating the last couple seconds?
Uh-oh. Can you hear me?
Yeah, you're good now, but for like
Okay.
for like that last 10 seconds.
Gotcha. I believe what I said was most hateful comments don't get under my skin, but when your tone comes across as if you're trying to, one up me or shut down my opinion in a very condescending way, that's what gets me going. Yeah.
Another thing that I wanted to get your thoughts on was a lot of times the people that experience the most trolling are celebrities, those public figures who are people that we may see in our everyday lives, but we obviously
Right.
don't know. So I guess what is your take on just stan culture where people feel like they are super connected to people that they have never met, will probably never meet, but just because they love whatever work that they do, whether it be in the entertainment industry or whether it's something, work that they do, like a book or whatever the case may be, like, what is your take on stan culture?
Stan culture is scary. As a content creator, I don't have nearly the amount of social impact as a celebrity. Like let's take Beyonce, for example. Nowhere near her level of stardom, obviously. But even with the level of fame that I received social media, I don't believe I have any stans, but I do believe that I have fans, and it's scary. It is very scary. I don't think people realize how scary it is for the recipient. And why I say that is because I get confronted in public by people who do my content. Not all the time, but it happens pretty often that I'll be out and about and someone's like, oh my God, I know you. That experience in and of itself is nerve-wracking for so many different reasons. The main reason being, though, if I'm having a bad day and someone recognizes me from social media, they're looking to me to be Cindy Noir, not the real me who's having a bad day. And there have been times where I've met people and they caught me on a bad day that I just was not in a headspace to say, hey girl, can we talk about it? I wasn't in that headspace. And so now their viewpoint of who Cindy Noir is skewed because, oh, she's rude. She don't want to talk to me. You give me one chance. I only had that one chance to fit what you've seen of me on social media. And because in my humanity I didn't fit it, now I'm blocked, or now you hate me as a creator. We have very little margins for error when it comes to those who enjoy our content. That's the first thing. The second thing is the issue of you have no idea as a content creator the impact of your content until you meet your viewers in person. I have had viewers cry, see me and start bawling.
Oh, wow.
About how much they love my content. And I'm like, girl, I made that video in my bed with no bra on. Huh? So it's like, it can be very jarring to see your impact through other people's eyes. And it can be kind of scary because you realize that's a lot of pressure. People are watching me and feel so connected to the point of crying when they see me. It creates a pressure on yourself to make content that people can believe in. And that can make you not want to make content as well. I've had a period in my content creation where one time I received a DM from a woman in India who said that my content helped her to divorce her husband.
Oh wow.
Huh? I've never been married, you know? So it's like, when I read that, it kind of sent me down a spiral of people are watching this and like applying it to their real lives. What if I say the wrong thing? What if I make the wrong kind of content? What if I give the wrong opinion and someone takes that and messes their life up? Then what? And it made me kind of paralyzed to want to make content for a little bit. But I bounced back, obviously. But people don't realize how much their support can come off as a lot of pressure on the person you're supporting and how scary it can be and unpredictable it can be to the person you're supporting as well. Whereas the minute that for the person you're in support of doesn't show up the way you want, that support can easily become um, resentment and hatred. And so stand culture, while on that from a distance, it looks like this really great thing to have all these people standing for you. Let you say the wrong thing. Let you not satisfy your stands, and they will become your enemies very fast. And
Mm.
so my window of content creation has given me a window of perspective for these celebrities. My heart goes out to them sometimes because wow, the visibility compared to the isolation, because people don't want to see the human celebrity. They want to see who they've been seeing on their phones and their TVs this whole time. So they don't actually like the person, they like the product. And that can be a very isolating and lonely experience. So stand culture is dangerous. It's dangerous not just for the stands, but also for the person you're standing over. And I am not the biggest fan of it, not at all.
Yeah, and when you saying that, like they don't like the person, they like the product, that does resonate with me a lot because as you mentioned Beyonce, like it's like that's why Beyonce
Uh-oh.
don't want
You're
to.
breaking up really bad. I can't hear you.
Oh, I'm sorry. Can you hear me now?
Hello? Yes, I can hear you now.
Sorry about that. But
You're okay.
what I was uh saying is kind of like how you mentioned Beyonce earlier, where it's like, yeah, that's why Beyonce doesn't like to talk to us because it's so easy for her to not say enough or say the wrong thing, and then the people that claim that they love her want to turn on her. And we see that.
Absolutely. Beyonce being quiet is one of the best things she could do at her level of stardom. That is one of her anonymity is protection, is security. Because we've all seen, not just with Beyonce, but other celebrities too, where you will have a celebrity or even the content creators. I've experienced so many content creators be so beloved and so supported, and they share an opinion that is not liked by the masses, and they just fall off, and they're never the same again. And so people allow very little room for those in the limelight to be human. And I don't mean that in the Diddy way, because no, but what I mean that is every celebrity or person or content creator that you like and their content you like, they're going to have at least one opinion you do not agree with at all. At all. That's normal. That's how it's supposed to be. But for whatever reason, with fan culture, there's this expectation that we must agree on everything. And the minute we don't, you're not who I thought you were. I can't believe that you would think that or believe that. And all of a sudden, they're turning their backs on you. And so, Beyonce being quiet, brilliant. Brilliant. Of course, you have to work away to that point, but I digress. What were you saying? I'm sorry.
No, that's it. I'm loving the conversation so far, and for those watching, stay tuned because we'll be right back with some more Cindy. And we are back with Cindy Noir. So before we were just talking about how stan culture can easily get out of hand and work against people, but I'm also, uh, I guess, to switch gears back a little bit to just how people can easily become trolls, whether they were originally a part of your stand or just because some people are self-proclaimed haters and they just like to.
Mm-hmm.
That's just their whole brand on social media. Um, what do you make of that just parasocial relationship where people feel like, okay, online I can be as nice or as cruel to someone that I probably will never meet in real life?
Mm-hmm. I think people make the mistake, and I hear it all the time, and it's so not true, of believing that social media is not real life. And I
Mm,
think people tend to believe that as a way to get out of holding themselves responsible for their actions on social media. This idea of once I exit the app and I'm in the real world, it doesn't matter. It does matter. And parasocial relationships as a content creator, people are weird. And I'm not saying that to be funny. People are concerning and it makes you scared because then you realize you have no idea who's watching your stuff. Like when you I have had personal run-ins with followers of my content who came across very entitled, and we haven't had one conversation. Like I remember one time a guy recognized me in Chick-fil-A and asked for my phone number, not even romantically, but like as a friend. And when I said no, he said, "Well, why not?" I don't know your first name. I don't know who you are, sir. And he was like, "Well, I've watched your content for the last 3 years. I know you." Like he was legit offended that I said no to exchanging phone numbers. I don't know you. And so people tend to easily assume that because I'm watching your video and you're recording it from your bedroom or you're recording it looking real relaxed, that I now know you. You
mm,
don't. You know what I've allowed social media to see. And people assume that that means all of you, and that because you are posting some business they're now entitled to all your business. So if we're talking about romantic couples, people, if you want to see a parasocial relationship, od, look at couples content. The way that commenters feel like they need to be in the couple themselves as far as business and knowing what's going on at all times. Let a couple split up and start posting by themselves. Those comments are going to be, what happened? And what are you going to tell us? It's like, it's not your relationship. Parasocial relationships, they scare me. They really do scare me because people will recognize you long before you recognize them. And when you go out into the world, there's no telling who's recognizing you, who can't stand your content and can't stand you because of it, and will treat you that way because of it. You don't know, because everyone knows you, but you don't know everybody. So parasocial relationships for me, not a fan. I'm not a fan of what we're seeing right now. It's way too much entitlement to people's lives and their business just because they show you a little bit of their lives and their business. And I don't like it. I don't.
I wholeheartedly agree with everything you just said, and that made me think of a few years ago. Because I'm a podcast nerd, I went to a podcast conference, and one of the sessions that I was in, the speaker was talking pretty much what we were talking about during the break of house. It does come with a huge responsibility to be in front of a mic and to create content and to host and to be the lead of whatever content you're responsible for. And she was saying how for some of us, we will be in folks' living rooms, we will be in their bedrooms, like you mentioned, that we will never see, we'll never interact with. And for some people, we might be the only smiling face, we might be the only laugh that they get that day. So it's always important with the content that we create. And so I think you make a great point there. That there's so many people where we've entered in their lives in some casual fashion that we have no idea about, and they want to hold us to that expectation of, hey, I watch you every night before bed, or I listen to your podcast every night before I go to bed, and I should have your phone number.
I
I,
should, yeah.
I should
It's
know exactly what products you use to go to bed with because I'm going to bed and listening to
at
you.
the
And
same time as you, but that's literally how they think. They genuinely feel entitled to knowing any and everything about you just because they have locked into your content. And that is why I tend to be very open about a select few topics. People don't know all of me, but that's because I've sat back and over the years, I've been going viral almost 10 years. Oh my God, 8 years. Okay, that's crazy to think
Wow.
about. That's crazy to think about. Most content creators' shelf life is not that long. Most content creators are going to rise and fall pretty quickly. And I think part of why I've been able to still be in the game 8 years later is because I've sat back and watched and learned that the more open you are with social media and the more you let the more you let social media into your life, the more entitled people become, and the harder it is for you to backtrack and try to become private all of a sudden. So
Right.
it's best to start off private and then just kind of trickle some things here and there and there. Because I've seen many content creators who began posting about their relationship and then they break up and people are wanting to know why, and all of a sudden is respect our privacy, please. We're going through a lot right now. And now people are feeling like, well, you weren't private before when you had us in the middle of y'all's argument on a live, So in order to mitigate the levels of entitlement, it's important for content creators to be open about a set list of topics and keep the rest private. It's just the easiest way to go about it.
I agree. And like you said, it's easier to start small and share what you feel comfortable sharing versus my life is like a reality show and that's completely unfiltered. And next thing you know, it's like, okay, is this Zeus Network? Because you tell us everything.
Mhm.
Um,
Literally.
so how do you think, I guess, fandoms, stan culture affects the younger generations? Because obviously,
Mhm.
10 years ago, this wasn't a thing when
Mm-mm.
it comes to social media, and now folks can go to school for this. Like you can
Yeah.
get educated in how to professionally create content, how to be more media literate, PR, all those things. So what are your thoughts on how stan culture might affect those who are just still growing up and figuring themselves out?
Ooh, that is a great question. I think that technology, the more we advance technology, the more negative impact I think it's going to have. And the reason why I say that is because now kids are being raised and from the time they're a kid to adolescence, they're watching kids on YouTube making millions, and I'm not exaggerating, millions reviewing toys. Or they're watching their favorite kid influencer reviewing the latest lip gloss for kids to wear, and she's making bank off of that. Kids are being raised and they're watching people skip the traditional way of going to school, getting an education, going to college, getting a job. They're watching other avenues to get to success quicker, which of course anybody with a rational mind would want to go the quick route than the traditional route. So we are raising a generation of kids who all want to be influencers. But the thing about being an influencer and a content creator is that everyone can't do it. The part of being an influencer is the fact that you have more influence than everyone else around you. If y'all are all trying to have influence, who's the real influencer? So I think we are raising a generation of content creators who are glamorizing the experience of the Alex Earls and the ones who get all this money for per one Instagram post, per one video. Because, for a long time, for generations, celebrities were the only ones that had that kind of access to privilege and power. So if you weren't a spectacular singer or actor or actress, there was no chance for you to get to that level. So you might as well go in the traditional way of doing things. But now we're seeing content creators who don't have to be the best of the best, who can be mediocre and still make it. And so I think that it is causing a lot of our youth to glamorize the experience of being an influencer or a content creator and strive for that career path, but they're not looking at the reality of it. They're looking at the glamorous part of it. And I think that so many of the youth are locked to their phones and glued to electronics that they're lacking a lot of social skills that you need to be able to be a successful content creator, because it also involves networking and getting to know other content creators so y'all can put your platforms together and build even larger platforms. But if you are a part of the generation who have had tablets and phones thrown in your face your entire youth, you don't know how to network and meet other content creators and create communities of content creators and such and things like that. So I don't know how the future of content creation will look for the upcoming generations, because they're all being privy to a way of life that looks more attainable and feasible. But if they're all reaching for that same way of life, I don't know how realistic it actually is. I'm kind of concerned for them, honestly, because a lot of these kids are already so emotionally um, on edge, and the level of visibility that comes with being having a large platform can be so emotionally triggering and jarring. And I don't think these kids are thinking about that aspect. They're just thinking about the money, the fame, and the attention, but not the responsibility, the immense pressure to look a certain way or act a certain way because of what you're seeing in the comments section and things like that. I don't think they're fully thinking about that aspect either. No.
I 100% agree. And still with social media, it's still relatively new.
Hmm. Very much so. There's still so much about it we don't know about or understand yet, and that's what concerns me because it's like as time goes on, we're finally at a point where the youth is a generation of people who have grown up their entire lives with technology, and they're the first generation to really have that as far as phones, cell phones, and like social media goes. Our generation, we had a good chunk of our life that didn't involve Facebook or a cell phone like that. These kids have not, and I'm curious to know over time. I guess it's the human behavior part of me. I'm curious to know over time how many of our youth are going to strive to become content creators and influencers and the success behind it, because I have a feeling that what they're striving for, they won't get how they're looking for it, if that makes sense. I think that over time, the field of content creation will be so oversaturated that it won't be worth the hype after a while.
And I also still think a lot of times people don't see this as a career. So
Mm-hmm.
like they'll just say like, "Oh, you just get to have fun.
Mm-hmm.
You have fun with your little reviews, or you have fun with your little podcast." It's like,
And,
hey,
and honestly, it's not until you have all the followers or you're making X amount of money per post that people then see it as a career. And even then, people still see it as a quick little thing that's going to be here one day, gone the next. I think very few people see it as an actual career to pursue because it's still so new. Hmm.
so my last question before I let you go, because as we've talked about you going viral so many times, you actually got to be on the Jennifer Hudson show.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
did.
tell me what was that like? Because I was right along with you. Like I'm a huge fan of hers, and so I was like, as we're talking about fandoms, like I'm a fan of yours and a fan of hers, so I'm able to see y'all like meet. Super excited. So what was that like for you?
I can't even put into words how crazy of an experience it was. So the reason why I even landed on Jennifer Hudson's show, I watched this show on Hulu called Unprisoned, starring Kerry Washington, and I watched it in 2023. I watched it in 2023 and I made a video about how much I loved the show and how great of a show it was. So I made it in like March 2023. Fast forward to April 2024. So over a year later, and I get an Instagram DM from someone who's like, "Hi, I'm a producer for Jennifer Hudson's show. We'd love to have you on the show." And I'm like, "Girl, yeah, right." I responded to her and said, "You're joking, right? Like, this is not a game. This is not funny." And she goes, "I get this all the time. I promise you I am. We want to have you on the show. Can you fly out tomorrow?" Or was it the day after? I might have had like one day to get everything together. So
Wow.
yes, it was a very, very quick turnaround time. I think, yeah, she flew me out. She reached out to me Sunday night, and I was flown out to LA Tuesday morning. Or no, no, no. I'm sorry. I was flown out Monday afternoon and was
Oh,
in LA by Monday night. Yeah, and was back to Atlanta Wednesday. It was a very, very fast turnaround. But they flew me out. They paid for everything. I just had to show up. And I felt like now that gave celebrity. I felt like I was just a creme de creme. So they actually surprised me. They told me that they wanted me on the show to be a content creator to make content in honor of Unprisoned and talk about my experience or my feelings about the show. They saw the video. So I went there thinking that I would just be making videos for Jennifer Aniston's show for social media, not be on the show. So when I got to the studio, I'm being drove around in a black SUV and I'm being escorted and I'm being taken behind stage and such. And they're telling me they're coaching me through what to say and where to stand for the videos and all of that. So then they finish that stuff and it's time for me to actually go up in the audience. I'm in the audience having a good time. And when they get ready for the Unprisoned segment, I notice there's an extra chair on the stage, but no one's in it. And I'm like, that's interesting. And then when they start the segment, the entire production look staff in front of me just clears the way. And before I know it, they're handing me a mic and guiding me down to get on stage with Jennifer and Kerry Washington. Did not see it coming at all. I was thoroughly surprised, and my mind went completely blank. They rehearsed me with the answers for the same answers were for the actual show that they were rehearsing me for, the content I was supposed to make. And all the answers went out my head as soon as I got on stage. So what you see in that clip is off the dome. I'm awestruck. I'm sitting here next to Effie and Olivia Pope. Like, it was a lot. So I think I did pretty good in my interview though. And as quickly as it happened, it was over and I was back on the plane back to Atlanta. But it was an amazing experience to be in LA amongst all the other celebrities, and it was very, 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 very cool experience for sure. Yeah.
Look, I was living through you on the screen because, like I said, love Jennifer Hudson, love, and then I was like, and we get Carrie too, like
right. And Carrie has such a warm energy and spirit about her, like sitting next, both of them, but especially because Carrie was closest to me, and it was like, wow, like you're Kerry Washington, but she feels so warm. It's like your favorite third grade teacher, like that kind of warmth, you know. It was a great time.
well, thank you so much for chatting with me today. Like, I've said this a bunch of times, but super fan of yours. I can't wait to see all the things that you do in the near future. And yeah, thank you for just making Augusta University look great.
Oh, I appreciate that, Ray. Thank you so much for having me. You asked some amazing questions, and I can't wait to see where you go either. I'm excited to see your journey too.
Y'all, I loved my conversation with Cindy so much. Like, shout out to her again. If you haven't, feel free to follow her on all the platforms and let us know what you think of the episode on all the platforms as well, because I think this is going to be an ongoing conversation about how we're interacting in today's time on social media. Like we said before, social media is still relatively new, so there's not a lot of rules and regulations and, I guess, ethics when it comes to what is it like to being online. But I hope you guys are always nice to people. Be nice to me, like, subscribe, all the things to let us know that you enjoyed this episode. Shout out to Cindy one more time. And until then, I'll see you guys in the next one. Go Jags!